Like many of you, I am a wood hoarder. You find a nice piece of wood and you plan a project out of it and you cut the corners off for the bowl and you save the corners. You cut the bottom off, you save the bottom. Maybe you make a pen or two out of the scraps and you always have little pieces left over. So this is an idea for those little pieces. And what we're going to talk about today are rings. Those of you who were here last club meeting saw a bunch of rings over there as a pre-intro. I brought them all today. We can either put them back over there or pass around. There's several kinds of rings. Basically, there's with cores and without cores. So without cores would be this. This is just a piece of wood, hole drilled through it, kind of smoothed out on the inside with a little taper, and then thinned down. The positives about this is they're very light. You don't have to have any other materials for it. The negatives is, they can be very brittle. Even when I stabilize the wood, which I did on this piece, even with stabilization, if you bang it hard enough on something, you will break it. This particular piece is coated in UV epoxy. So you put a couple coats of epoxy on, you put it in a UV light, down, lower, okay. How about that? I keep my hand right on there. See, even I can learn. The other type, and I don't have one here, but the other type of non-cored ring is what they call a laminated. I do have some material here. That was you. So a laminated core ring, and I took a strip of veneer, soak it in hot water for a little while, and then kind of wrap it up to pre-bend it. And then you can take this wood and bend it in a tight radius and glue it together and create a ring out of it. It gives, once you turn it, it gives you a nice kind of layered look with different grains coming through. Again, once you get it formed, stabilize it, it'll make it harder, but they're still brittle. There's still a high chance of it breaking. So then the other type of ring are cored rings. So I think this one probably shows it best. You can see the metal insert on the ring. These are cored blanks. They come in two types. These are one-piece cores. They do make two-piece cores that have a shoulder, so it comes together. I don't have any of those with me today, but they turn the same way. Craft Supply sells these cores. There's several types. I have a new style here. This is a ceramic core, so it's much smoother, much more comfortable fit when you try them on. They come in different widths. You can see this one's a very small, thin width. The thinner ones tend not to show off as much character of the wood. So if you have a real nice piece of wood, maybe that's not the way to go. But if you have smaller scraps, this is something you can do. And then the third kind is what's called an inlay. So this piece here has a channel dug into the ring blank. You would use whatever material you want to inlay. This particular one is seashell with turquoise powder to fill in the gaps. So I took a bunch of seashells and crushed them up. You glue it in with CA glue. You kind of build it up. You don't want to do it all at once. You build it up slowly. And then once you get it above the ridge where you can turn it, maybe turn it down flat and then fill it the remaining gap in with something else. I use turquoise. Types of materials that work well, the acrylics tend to work real well, or the epoxy, UV epoxy resin works well. This is all resin ring. This is a mixed media, so there's some epoxy in here. There's some wood. I think one of these actually has some honeycomb on it, a little bit of metal in it. There's a little metal sliver on the side there. We want to pass some of these around. Here's the, that's the inlay. And then we'll pass the ceramic core. I would warn you, if you don't use the ceramic core if you've never turned rings before. The benefit of the stainless is if you don't get it in square, when you're turning it, you can actually turn the edge and you'll turn the metal thinner to square it up nice and even. When you use ceramic, you can't do that. Ceramic doesn't turn. So we'll pass the metal one around. If anybody wants to see any of the other ones, just let me know. Maybe this one too, huh? Actually. So what do I use for my material? Again, everybody has their wood piled up at home, all kinds of stuff that you like. I use a lot of scrap material. So when I pour a blank for some of my resin work, I'll have a leftover piece that I trim off of it. So here's a nice purple. It's got some pine cone in it, maybe a little choa cactus. So all I do is draw a circle on there, cut it out. It's already about the right thickness for a piece of ring. Instead of throwing this out, I'll get 2 or 3 rings out of that at least. A little piece off a project after you finish turning it, you kind of peel it off. Well, it's just laying there. That'll make a ring. I have purchased ring blanks from the company out in Denver, the bangle guy. He makes bangles, so when he cuts the bangle blanks out, he has this leftover blank, and I bought a bag of 5 or 6 of these for like $2. So instead of throw them out, so this is pretty big. This probably make a very large ring, but we'll thin it up. Here is what we'll work on today. So I had a piece like this, which was the cutoff from a turning project. So here it is. Cut it round. The first step of the process is I kind of cut it in a rough circle and drill a 3/8 inch hole, and that'll accommodate the ring mandrel. The club has bought 2 of these ring mandrels to rent out from the store. Basically, it's just a little mandrel. These will also work for bottle stoppers. But by turning our, excuse me, by drilling a 3/8 inch hole, now you can fit this on the ring mandrel, tighten it up, square it up, get a nice round blank. The reason I like the round blank is once you decide what size ring you're going to put in, you have to drill the hole to fit the ring. So I have some smaller chucks, jaws at home that the ring blank can fit in, but I was going to show today that you can actually just put it on the inside of an existing chuck. Do you? That's okay. I'm not going to do a whole lot with this. There's a lot of finicking work with this. So I've got this mounted in there. I have a drill bit on a Jacobs. You just go in and drill it out. This is a 7/8 drill bit. I think it's about an 8 inch, or a ring size of 8 will fit inside this drill bit. But you know, if you're making an 8.5, it's not gonna. So what you'll have to do is you'll drill the hole, then you'll have to come in and clean the inside, make the inside just a little bit bigger. So again, that's why I mounted on the inside here. You can kind of clean out the inside, test fit the ring, does it fit, clean it out some more, test fit the ring, see if it fits. So you want a nice snug Uh-oh. I guess I don't have it. You want a nice snug fit so that you can set it in, but you don't want it so snug that you can't put the glue in between it. So once you get the inside turned to the right dimension, you apply your epoxy. I tend to use the epoxy versus CA glue. I find that the epoxy has a little more give, a little more forgiving. CA glue can tend to be brittle after it dries out for a while. I have had a ring or two break. The outside ring broke because the epoxy or the CA glue soaked through and it was brittle. It's also a little more forgiving as far as getting it centered, getting it put in position, moving the blank around on the inside so you get it flush with your piece. I have a piece of wax paper on my bench and I just push it down, make sure it's all nice and firm. This gets you a nice blank all set. This is what I'm going to turn today. The club has the ring mandrels, so it has all the pieces you need to turn a ring. The kit comes with, this one, with the mandrel itself. We have two sizes. We have the large size for the bigger lathes and the small size for the smaller lathes. It screws right onto the lathe. Turns nice and true. Again, if you were squaring up a blank, you would put one of your bushings on, put your ring blank on, tighten it up. This gives you the opportunity to turn it to whatever size your chuck jaws are. So if you have small jaws for your chuck, then you know what diameter it is. You can turn it, rough it out, fits in your jaws. Then you can do the inside a lot easier. Once you get it the size the way you want it, you get the insert glued into it. Now there's 3 bushing sizes, depending on what size the ring is. You want your bushing to sit inside the ring core. And you want this nice and tight. This locks it into position, so then we can start turning it. No need for a tail stock. It's solid enough. If it was in real rough, round shape, maybe you'd put the tail stock up until you got it smoothed out. Any questions so far? Seems like I'm going through this very quickly. The bushings are tapered. And like I said, there's 3 sizes. There's a small, medium, and large. So the ring sits on different spots on the different bushings. I don't know if we can pick that up on the TV. You can see the edge is tapered off. This isn't the only method for turning rings. The first ring I actually turned a dowel and tapered the dowel and then jam chucked the ring on the dowel. And it was able to turn the ring on the dowel itself. Early on, I also bought some of these, which are called ring mandrels. Again, the Bengal guy had these on the website, and I believe Craft Supply sells these as well. This is the same type of concept. But with this one, what you're doing is you're putting the ring on the put the ring on the mandrel itself, and then this screw expands the jaws, locks it in place, and allows you to turn it. There's two sizes. Well, there's a couple different sizes. I have two sizes. I think that was this larger one. This is a little smaller one for smaller rings. As you can see, it fits right over that, so I wouldn't use that one.
Do you have a preference for mandrel bit?
You know, this is the one I learned on. This is the one I use the most often, so I really like these. The problem with these is if you finish while they're on these mandrels, the glue or whatever you're using for finish can get in the jaws, and I've had to kind of clean it out multiple times. The other problem is there's little shoulders on every step as you go up. If you don't get the ring mandrel snapped right on the shoulder correctly, you'll have a wobble and the ring doesn't turn even. With this captured system, it seems to eliminate that problem because now it's captured between the tapers and you don't have that wobble anymore. What I didn't talk about was cleaning up the edges. I also use those jaws, that small jaws on my chuck. Mount the ring after the insert has been inserted. Mount it back on the small jaws, clean up the edges, nice and flat. Again, you can see there's a little bit of glue on the edge here. I didn't want to take it too much farther down, but on this side here, there must have been cocked a little bit. You can see the metal has been turned away. A third type, and I think Dick brought in some rings he turned last month. They make these bushings that fit right on your existing pin mandrel. So they come in 3 sizes as well. So they make these bushings that'll fit on a standard, 7mm pin mandrel. And then if you've already got your pin mandrel, you've already got the equipment, you can. Hi. What else? Oops. All right, so what we have, I'll do a little bit of turning here. I have here is a wooden blank. So I think it's cherry burl, and there's epoxy on it. So typically when I'm turning epoxy, I like my carbides. There's enough wood on this where I think you could probably turn it with a wooden skew or even a spindle gouge. I like it at a little higher speed because it's a smaller diameter. We take nice, small, gentle cuts. I generally work from one side towards the middle and then come back and do the other side towards the middle. I have a little inclusion here that came off that I'm trying to turn away. Back to the other side. Rings aren't flat. They have a kind of a dome. At least the rings I like to make have a little more of a dome shape to them. So the edges are smaller in circumference and then the outside. So I take a look at this. I don't want to get too close to the metal band, but if you're too thick, the ring feels funny when you wear it. A little thinner. So I'm doming it over. With a flat spot on the peak. So it has that nice kind of arch with a, instead of a point at the middle, it has a nice flat, echoey, nice flat piece in the middle. This looks like about the right thickness. You can always take it off. It's a little thick. So as you can see, when you put it on, your finger kind of rubs on it. So I'm going to take this a little thinner. One last pass. Last famous words, right? One last pass. Light cuts. We don't want to try to remove a lot of material. We're just shaping it. Taper the edge. Brings out a lot of character in the wood anyway, so. Still a little thick. Gonna go one more pass.
As you're remounting it, is it pretty much find the center real well?
Yes, because of the taper on the center here, and it pops it right back into position. I'm not, because I've already flattened the sides. I'm not worried about how much I'm working on the sides. I flatten the sides in the chuck. I think I'm gonna stop pushing my luck. Yeah, see, I don't know. It feels a little thick, but we're gonna leave it. Check the overall shape. I think the edges could be trimmed down a little bit, so I guess I am gonna do it. Stop laughing. So I'm going to make the taper the edges a little more to get the sharp edge off so that when you put it on your finger, you don't feel that edge. The bushings are aluminum, so the other nice thing about carbides, if I touch the bushing, I'm not going to destroy anything. I know there's a lot of people that don't like carbides. I do. That feels pretty good. So we'll go ahead, remount it, and do a little bit of quick sanding, which everybody loves to watch. I do like sanding. I just use Abernet. So start with 120. I have a pad, an old pad that doesn't kind of Velcro anymore, so I use that to protect my fingers. We're going to turn it way down. Say that again? Yeah. Yeah. Right, because you don't want to change the diameter. No, not really, because the bushings are just there to hold the pen, right, to raise it up off the level. What I'm doing now is going across the grain to kind of scuff it up so that when I change to the next grit of sandpaper, especially because of the acrylic. I like to cross grain the acrylic. Let you see the scratches for the next grain. If it had more acrylic, I would go all the way up to maybe 1,000 or use some micro mesh to get a real nice finish on it. This just has a little bit of accent for acrylic. I'm trying to make sure I get the edges where the ring starts off the core. Make sure the edges are nice and smooth. Now, my favorite go-to finish is just a simple linseed, boiled linseed. Even if I'm going to put a CA finish on it, I like to put a coat of the boiled linseed down first. Pops the color. I think it helps the CA glue. I hear it a little better too. I don't know if we can get a picture of that. The magic that is a good finish. So we got a nice little bit of cherry wood there. Some nice green. We get in a little bit of the burl, a little bit of the epoxy. It looks like most of the epoxy turned away. I do have a chunk here where it must have come off when I was putting the core in. A little more epoxy. Now, if I wanted to put some CA glue on it, I brought some CA glue. We'll do a quick CA glue pass just to seal it. So my normal process for BLO, if I'm just using BLO, I would saturate it 2 or 3 times and then leave it set for 3-4 days. If you're putting CA glue on it, you really don't need to. So I put a coat of the BLO on it. I'm still have the BLO on my paper towel. It's right here, Jerry. Right where I put it, so it wouldn't be looking for it. You can see this the BLO still on the paper towel. I'm going to go ahead and put the CA glue right on the BLO. And then generally, I just turn it by hand. And then the second pass, I put it on just the paper towel. I don't like accelerator. I've had experience where the accelerator, for whatever reason, made it cloudy. Turns white, yeah. I'm gonna put another one on there. Usually with the rings, I only put a couple coats on. I don't think it does a whole lot. You don't want them too shiny because, you know, if you're wearing them, you're going to wear it down. It's going to get dirty. But you want the CA just for protection, for hardening it. Okay, that's enough of that. Still a little sticky. So you can see where the wood kind of chipped out. I don't think I like that ring at all. Yes, so I could turn that down to the core, turn it off the core, start over with another piece of wood, which is probably what I'll do with that, because like I said, on the inside, when you're dealing with burl, you never know. You get gaps and crevices where the burl will pop out. I think that's probably what happened with that one. So the kit is available through the store. What I'll do is I have a ring blank here that I bought from Craft Supply. I think this is an 8. I already have the initial hole drilled into it so that you can mount it on the kit. And then you can rough it up a little more or clean up. Let me see if I'll just do that. Then you can actually, why don't we do that? And then we'll put this in the wood raffle, and whoever wins it can turn this ring. What I am going to do is I am going to drill it for whoever gets it. Oh. I didn't bring the wrench to pull it off. I didn't think it'd come off that hard. Do we have one?
Sometimes the powermatic
I think that's way too big, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yep.
Get it? Yeah. See? Tim, you are good for something.
something I think I know who you've been talking to.
So as we talked before, in order to get this ring core, this is the ring core, comes from, this is an 8.5. We need to drill a hole for that to fit in there. So what I'm going to do, and I thought I was going to do this earlier, and I guess I second guessed myself. So I'm just putting it in on the inside of the jaws here. There's a little step on the inside of the jaws. We'll grab this. Nice and slow. This one has a lot of acrylic on it, so you do want to be careful as you're turning your different ring blanks. Chuck pressure should be as light as you can without having it fall out. If you tighten it too tight, you'll snap it. So now I don't know if we can see this on this camera. That ring blank fits right in there, nice and snug. So 8.5 is a 7/8 Forstner bit. Now, if you turn a different size ring, it won't fit, and you'll have to go in the inside and, like I said, widen it out, make it bigger. So now this ring is ready for glue. What I would do is make sure this was scuffed up a little bit on the inside and scuff up the metal on the outside. Gives it a little more adhesion. So we'll put this in the wood exchange. If somebody wants to turn this ring, they have a ring they can try. They can rent or take out the ring mandrel from the club, and you're all set to go. Any questions? That's about it. That's all I had. Yes. Thank you. The question was, is the ring mandrel the one from Craft Supply? Yes, it is. So I will show, this is the kit. Yeah, that's what I'll show the kit. So this is the 1.25" kit for the big Powermatics. So you can see the ring mandrel itself, the nut to tighten it up. And then we have several of bushings. Small, medium, and large, depending on what size ring you're going to turn. Well, and again, this is the same size as a bottle stopper. So if you want to use this for bottle stoppers, you can. And then we'll have another complete kit as soon as we get a container for it for the small mini lathes, 1-inch TPI. Is that it? Anybody have any questions? Thank you.